Hello and welcome to this special show on Rajya Sabha Television. I am Vishal Dahiya, and here we take a stock of India's fight against COVID-19. Now, the one very important aspect in this fight is the testing technologies or the testing methodology, because the more we test, the more we will be able to find out where the virus is lurking and perhaps take preventive and curative measures as well. In this regard, there are ultra rapid testing technologies which have been developed by Israel in collaboration with India. The trials are underway. These technologies apparently have proved their worth in the laboratory settings, and now they're being tried in the real world settings. Today we're going to talk about these technologies, try and understand what exactly are these new methodologies, how do they work, and what changes they might bring in this battle against COVID-19. So more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel. Let me first introduce them to you, beginning with the Israeli ambassador to India, Dr. Malka. Welcome, Dr. Malka. We also have with us Dr. Anurag Agarwal. He is the director of CSIR's Institute of Genetics and Integrated Biology. And we're also joined by Dr. Anil Gurtoo, director, professor, and head of the Department of Medicine with Lady Hardinge Medical Colleges, one of the hospitals where this particular testing technology is being tried. Let me first begin with you, Dr. Malka, and let's start by looking at an overview of these new methods, these new technologies which have been developed by Israel. What are they?
Good afternoon. Well, since the outbreak of the pandemic, our two prime ministers, our good friends, had few conversations and agreed to collaborate, finding solutions for the pandemic. So our scientists from both sides decided to collaborate and to joint research, and they are focusing on rapid tests for coronavirus, for COVID-19, that will give results within few seconds. If we'll find this technology that will be local, it will be cheap, and will be very efficient just to change dramatically the way that we live under this pandemic until we'll find a way and manage to immune all the population. We tried many technologies, tens of them, and 4 of them got to the last stage, to this last stage that we are now standing in. One of them is a voice, vocal, just audio. We asked the one that is being tested just to speak, and we tried, so to speak, to find the fingerprint, the audio, the vocal fingerprint of COVID-19 in voice, which excites the imagination, using artificial intelligence and big data analysis. The second technology is high frequency, terahertz frequency. We project high frequency on the sample, and it appears that we can locate and identify the specifications of COVID-19. The third technology is isothermal technology. So with manipulating the temperatures, different temperatures, we can again isolate and identify fingerprints, so to speak, of COVID-19. And the fourth technology that we have been testing is polyamino acids, basically trying to identify the specific proteins, the protein molecule that is identified with COVID-19. So again, all these technologies are very advanced testing using artificial intelligence, machine learning procedures, and big data analysis. These techniques improve themselves. This testing have started in Israel, and after that was again upscaled here in India. Within 9 days, we managed to take 20,000 samples. 9 days, 20,000 samples. Really, because of the efficiency of these joint researchers from both sides and the way that people harness themselves to this very important research. It was a very successful operation. We met all our objectives.
Okay. We'll talk in detail about the collaborative effort there between India and Israel with these particular technologies and other aspects in the science and technology sector. But let's, for the time being, focus on these 4 aspects. Let me bring in Dr. Anurag Agarwal here. Dr. Anurag, talking about these 4 technologies, what is it that makes them different from the existing testing technologies which are being used right now? 1. And 2, how do they, classify as the rapid testing technologies? How does it work in terms of ensuring that the results are faster, quicker, and accurate as well?
Thank you very much, Vishal. When I compare them to something, I'll be comparing them to RT-PCR, which is the gold standard currently. Basically, in RT-PCR, you measure the nucleic acid of the virus, an RNA virus, and you amplify it. You amplify it using multiple temperature cycles, which takes about a few hours to complete. When we look at these technologies, you can either detect the virus by finding something about the virus, or you can identify the infection by finding something in the way the host, in this case a human, responds to the virus. So if you look at the 4 types of technology Ron was talking about, one of them was voice. So it has been noted, for example, in the past in tuberculosis, that the cough of people with tuberculosis is slightly different from other coughs. So there means some benefit of using sound-based classification. It's the same principle. People with an ongoing COVID infection may have a change in their voice and other ancillary sounds. It's a human response to the infection that could provide a signature. The second one was terahertz scanning. Now, terahertz scanning can inform a lot regarding water content, spectral signatures. So it's quite possible the combination of the infected cells would have a unique signature on terahertz scan. And these are very fast. I mean, if you take rapid test, you mean 30 minutes. A terahertz scan, if successful, these are all experimental technologies so far, would be in seconds to a minute. And that's the huge advantage. When you come to the other 2 sites, which is the isothermal technique and the polyamine techniques, these are basically focusing on nucleic acids and virus, just making it faster and more efficient. And again, you would be shortening the time down. The advantage of anything to do with a viral protein, you can do it faster. It can be very specific. Sensitivity tends to be a bit of a problem because you can't amplify, but high-end technology may get sensitivity even looking at proteins comparable to nucleic acid. And isothermal, of course, gets over the multiple temperature problems of PCR. Again, makes it faster, easier, and can take it to the periphery. Today, to do a real-time PCR machines, you need complex machines. Isothermal technologies can make it cheaper and easier. I will stop there, and Ron can correct me if I got anything wrong.
No, but before I go back to Dr. Malka, on the accuracy and efficacy part as well, because Dr. Anurag, it is really, really important as well that these tests have to be, really accurate in terms for us to understand, or for the the health workers out there to try and find the affected person. So in terms of accuracy and efficacy, how do you rate these tests?
I would say the answer is yet to come because 20,000 samples were collected. Some of them will be processed in Israel. Some of them have been processed here. The gold standard RT-PCR were done in duplicate for each person. So you would basically have a nice point of comparison, especially for the voice. Given we are talking about Indian languages and Indian speech, you would have a lot of AI work to do. It's lovely work that Defense, DRDO, and before I say anything else, I must compliment the DRDO organization, Defense Research and Development Organization, for having managed to do 20,000 test and create setups. And I must compliment Professor Gurtoo and all the other medical colleges that made it possible. True accuracy, whether sensitivity, which is how many of the positive people can you pick up, or specificity, which is how many of the normal people or negative people you can pick up, will come. And I think it's a great opportunity. I think it will be premature for me to say that they're either very sensitive or specific until we actually get the full data. But I'm very confident that these tests, using the AI skills that Israel in particular brings along with our own scientists, we will be able to raise them to a good operating characteristics. And the last line I will say is, it is very important to create more tests that can go out into the field and give us fast results. So all efforts in this are super worthwhile.
Definitely, more tests, ensure that we are able to fight this virus in a much better, much efficient way. Dr. Gurtoo, your views, initial views on these 4 tests, since yours is one of the hospital where the trials are going on.
See, when we look at them as individual tests, 2 of them at least mark a significant shift in the way we approach biology. 2 of them, the terahertz spectrum test and the voice test, they shift the frame of investigations from biology into physics. And that's a huge impact in the sense that it makes the things less messy. faster. All the infection control issues become less. And the biggest advantages are that these, if they prove to be accurate and reliable, they would carry some unique features suited for our epidemiological conditions in India as they obtain today. One, they will be very simple. They don't need any expert. They will be point of care use. They could be portable. They could go where they are required. Communities, interfaces where a large number of populations have to be either locked up or partially opened up or fully opened up, mass, the interfaces. And they can be scalable under varying micro to macro to intermediate epidemiological situations.
Okay.
So given these likely features that these may carry in case they prove accurate and reliable, then if we were to apply them to our country's epidemiology, the COVID epidemiology as it obtains today, then the biggest thing that we see is that it's a picture marked by heterogeneity. Rising here, falling there, not there at all, beginning to enter here. So given that heterogeneity, we face the main public health dilemma that we face today is how to balance in a dynamic way life with livelihood. How do we do that? It's such a varying this thing. So with these kind of tests, we can address the situation by locating these rapid, simple, portable, and scalable to a mass level point of care tests within the backbone of our response, which is test, isolate, trace, and then treat. So that we can take rapid decisions as whether to open, not open, partially open, fully, etc.
Okay, definitely. It is a really, really important tool when we talk about public health and specifically in pandemic situations like this. Dr. Malka, you spoke about earlier about the collaboration between India and Israel on this particular aspect. One, curious question here is, why go in with India on these technologies? Is it the scale or is it something else? Obviously, there is a traditional collaboration between both the nations, which has got a thirst of late when we talk about science and tech sector. But specifically, to these 4 testing methodologies, what made Israel partner with India?
Well, as you said, the collaboration on science and technology has been going on for a long time. The relations, and specifically the relations between head of Israel DRDD and the PSA, Principal Scientific for Prime Minister Modi, has been going on for a long time, those relations. So after the Prime Minister has agreed to collaborate, it was only natural for them to try and joint research together. So that's how they came with this idea. They said, okay, what is very important is, as Dr. Gurtoo said, to balance between life and livelihood, we need to have these rapid tests that are scalable, cheap, and portable. Exactly what we needed. That's how they came with this idea. So we tried different technologies in Israel. Of course, there was also consulting between the two sides. We started the testings in Israel. And once we wanted to scale it up and work together, we came just to go on in India. So it's been going on for a few weeks. So basically, it's the chemistry between those leading scientists. And again, you need to understand, Israel and India are leading countries in the world in science and technology. Out of 5 nations that reached the moon, 2 are Israel and India. So you can understand what is the scope of collaboration in science and technology between Israel. We have the best scientists in the world in Israel and India, and those scientists are just joined together with this research that might bring good news, not only for Israel and India, but for the world. So it was very natural for them to work together since they knew each other, they knew the capabilities, there is a mutual trust, mutual respect, professional respect, so it was only natural for them to work on. And this is exactly what we are doing, because when I just came about a year and a half ago, just take post, Danny Gold, the head of the Israeli DRDD, is a good friend of mine. And once I met the PSA, I realized that there are people from the same kind, 2 geniuses, 2 leading scientists that should be connected. So we engage them, and the chemistry between them is what we see now. The fruits that we see now is the chemistry between those 2 leading scientists, world leading scientists from Israel and India.
Okay, definitely, and this collaboration is likely to come up with wondrous solutions, not only with respect to COVID-19, but other aspects as well. When we talk about collaboration, but Dr. Malka, you spoke about how these testing methodologies will turn out to be a cheaper alternative to the ones which are already present. So once the efficacy and the accuracy is proved in the real world situation through the tests and trials which are going on right now, what's the road ahead from here onwards? The plan for bringing these tests on the ground for the to be used by the health workers for general public, and comparatively in terms of making it cheaper, how cheap it might be if some of the other calculations might have been done by now.
So now what we are doing basically, well, the last stage after doing these trials, just analyzing the results. We have 20,000 samples, as we said, analyzing. Within few weeks, we'll understand if it's a go or no go. Since it's a local testing and a very simple, as Dr. Gurtoo just explained, we can scale them up very easily. And with the manufacturing capability of India, which is one of the best in the world, we can just scale it up and, take it for whenever we want. It will be cheaper because it's locally done with simple machines. This is what's so important about these 4 technologies. This is why those 4 technologies got to the last stage out of tens of technologies that were tested. We named this operation Open Skies. It was because first and foremost, what this rapid test will do will open the skies. International flights and even domestic flights will be now very easy to do. Think about conferences, meetings, events that we are now preventing from doing. We can do all those when we have this rapid test, local rapid test, that will give us results within 30, 40 seconds. It excites the imagination what dramatic change it will bring to our life once we have it and scale it. So we are not waiting to the results. We are now making all the procedures for mass production in case that we get these results that we are looking for. So we are not waiting for that. We are now just collaborating, working together, thinking, making the plans. So once we realize that it's working, everything else will be ready for mass production and just, to spread it whenever we need it.
Okay, perfect. And the name of the operation you mentioned clearly indicates the motive or the target here, Operation Open Skies. That brings me to Dr. Anurag here. Dr. Anurag, in terms of utilization and the benefit of having such testing, ultra rapid testing methodologies, as Dr. Gurtoo and what Dr. Malka is pointing out, this is going to be really, really significant when we talk about public health perspective and putting the testing methodology at the center of our battle against COVID-19.
Absolutely. So if you look at the US experience, by the time a person finds out they're positive, they've already infected about as many people as they were likely to. And there is no point of finding out that you're positive if your infection has already been mostly transmitted. We know the early days of the infection is when the viral load is the highest, which is why these technologies have a tremendous public health impact. And beyond public health impact, imagine the psyche of the people. Until the airports open, until you can enter the malls, until business and life goes back to normal, is a tremendous damage to the social economic fabric of the world. And only a rapid scan that can tell you within a few minutes can really help you to go about life as normal.
Okay. Dr. Gurtoo, that brings me to you, since you're on the front lines of this fight against COVID-19, one of the senior doctors involved with patients out there who are affected, trying to find ways to deal with the virus. Clinically, how significant it would be? Obviously, public health, from the public health aspect, we all understand opening up will be really, really more easy, and perhaps it'll be much more helpful in areas where crowds gather, or there are more people, such as public transport, perhaps colleges or schools or universities as well. But from clinical perspective as well, Dr. Gurtoo, how it might be helpful?
Oh, it will be of great help. You see, let me explain you how we have mapped out our hospital as a space, as an infection space. We have 3 zones: the green, where certainly negative patients, confirmed negatives, are kept for surgery, for gynecology, for deliveries, for medical treatments, etc. Then is the red zone, where confirmed COVID patients are kept and treated. Between the two, a separation has to be maintained to avoid cross transmission. But between these two extremes of red and green lies a vast and expanding zone of orange. We don't know whether they are positive or negative, and yet we need to take rapid decisions in order to decrowd, move the patients either way, either to the red or the green, and treat them fast. Because until we are sure about their COVID status, surgeries, deliveries, etc., medical treatments often get delayed. So once we have these rapid point of care, simple deliverable tests like these, then we will be able to sort out the biggest mess that we face today, the biggest problem, the hurdle that we face today, how to decrease the load from the orange zone and move them rapidly to either red or green. So this orange zone is a vast and growing problem for us in terms of caseloads and bed occupancy. So these tests, rapid point of care, simple, would enable us to sort these patients out and open up the space and take rapid decisions about the patient care. So it would be of enormous help, I would say.
Okay. And would you like to add more onto the public health aspect as well? Because, as I mentioned, it'll be more easier, specifically from India's perspective, public transport activities such as metros or local trains. Will it make it more easier for activities like these to be resumed?
Yes. You see, for that, we could locate this system of 4 tests in whatever combinations they turn out to be valid. It could be a combination rather than one or the other. We could locate these within the backbone, within the spine of our public health response, which is surveillance. Quick, rapid test, which gives you a quick, rapid decision-making in or out. This person, this crowd, this school, this college, that metro, that public transport, what to do with them? Should we allow them? Should we not allow them? This to be allowed, that not to be allowed. Those decisions can be made very rapidly at the point of concern and not away in some centralized lab surrounded by technical issues. So this will help us to locate this cluster of 4 tests in whatever combinations. I think it will be a combination rather than one, within the spine of our surveillance system, which will be the bedrock of our response until we get a vaccine.
Okay. So it makes life more easier, simpler, not only for general public, but also for health workers as well. Dr. Malka, before we, bring this show to an end, concluding comments from you, since it is of immense, a pleasure and pride as well for both nations, Israel and India, as you earlier pointed out, the kind of collaborative effort which we are seeing here, and how do you look at this particular effort broadening its spectrum to other areas as well? It's not only about COVID-19. This is one battle which we are fighting very well, and we will win it as well. But beyond that also.
2 things about that. Thank you for this question. First, these technologies that we develop now have multi-uses, dual and multi-uses. So they can be used in different places, even in agriculture, water management, of course, security and other issues. So you can imagine how useful these technologies that we develop, Israel and India develop together, can bring to India and Israel capabilities that now exist only in the superpowers. This is first. Secondly, what I want to say is this is a reflection of the thriving friendship between Israel and India. Because since the outbreak of this pandemic, India helped Israel very much in evacuating thousands of Israelis that were stranded all over India under full lockdown and closed skies, not open skies, closed skies. When Israel needed medicine and raw materials for medicine, protecting gears, India provided that to us. Now, in this special airplane that came with this research delegation, I also brought with me, I had the honor to head this plane, also brought with me all the medical equipment that was invented in Israel for fighting COVID-19 with cutting-edge technologies and was found very useful in coordination with AIMS Hospital after understanding what are their needs. And tomorrow we are going to provide them all the medical equipment that was found useful in Israel. Some of it was contributed by Israeli companies that just love India, and some of it was purchased with special fund that our foreign minister, Gabi Ashkenazi, gave us just to purchase this medical equipment in order to bring it to India. We also brought advanced respirators that are export banned to other countries, but with exemptions for India. So it's a special waiver for India, which reflects the friendship. After this pandemic, Israel and India will be even closer friends, even closer than they are always together. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Ron Malka out there. It clearly lays out, the way both nations and its scientists and researchers have been working together, to try and find solutions to challenges which we are facing due to COVID-19. And as Dr. Malka is pointing out, this collaborative effort and this friendship is further going to continue as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Anurag and Dr. Gurtoo as well for sharing your views with us. So there it is, all about the 4 distinctive ultra-rapid testing technologies which are being developed by Israel and India in collaboration with each other. Trials are underway. We're hopeful that final results will be out soon, and the mass production plans are also ready. Once it is done, it will make life more easier in terms of unlocking. And as Dr. Malka said, it is known as Operation Open Skies. Thank you once again to all our guests, and we'll come back again tomorrow with a different topic and different set of guests. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha television. But please do not forget to use a face mask when you step out of your houses, because this battle against COVID-19 is still underway. Thank you.